Sure. Yeah, I'm excited this panel could get together, and thanks for having us. My name's Tom Schmidt. I'm a partner at Dragonfly Capital. We're a crypto venture fund and sort of split between Asia and the US. I'm currently in Taipei.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having us. I'm Tekin Salimi. I'm a general partner at Polychain Capital. We're a multi-stage crypto investment firm. We actively manage multiple investment vehicles today. And prior to getting into the crypto world, I was a corporate attorney practicing M&A and securities law.
Hey everyone, nice to see you all. I'm Rachel Lyons, co-founder and CEO of SynFutures. Prior to SynFutures, I was doing a structured derivative for Deutsche Bank and also leading the and Financial's first blockchain platform.
All right, hey everyone. My name is Chris. I run this YouTube channel called Mr. Block, True Questions, and focus on the Asian market. As around 25,000 subscribers, been making tutorial video for the past 3 years. Started like Thorchain, Synthetic, Aave, and then 2020 I joined Curve Finance and been focusing on building their Asian market. And now I'm also helping SynFutures as a community ambassador to build SynFutures Asian market. Yeah, good to be here.
All right, well, thank you everyone. Let's start off the panel by talking about the current state of the NFT market. And so we've seen, Bitcoin and Ethereum, prices coming in cycles, and DeFi kind of also exploding this year. And with that, NFTs. And I guess currently, where are you seeing the market? We've seen like sales go on Christie's for millions of dollars. What's your current view of the NFT market? And let's start with Tom, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's funny to me, I think how like mainstream NFTs have become, because I remember sort of in like 2017, 2018, I was actually part of the working group that was working on like the ERC 721 spec, and it was like super niche and esoteric, and it was kind of like crypto kitties and punks and like a lot of sort of like these random projects. And so it's been kind of rewarding, but also very interesting to me to see sort of how mainstream it's become in the past, 5-6 months. And yet we've retained this like weird non-fungible token name, which is, kind of strange when you think about it. I think clearly in the short term, there's like been a lot of mania in the market, and you kind of see that with the insane sellouts of mints, and you see even people building bots to be able to mint hundreds of new NFTs at a time as they come up, and just generally like the trajectory and sort of hyperbolic run up of the market. I think for me, I'm not a trader. I'm definitely not a very good trader, but I think as a venture investor, we like to think on a very long time horizon, and I think clearly NFTs sit at this nexus of so many things that are happening in our world right now. And so I think for us, we have a very long-term bullish view on NFTs and have had it for a while. I can't really speak to what's going on in the market right now, but for us, I think there's no doubt that this trend will keep ratcheting up, and we're excited to sort of see more teams like SynFutures building really excellent complements to what's going on in the NFT market.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I echo a lot of Tom's sentiments about how interesting it's been to see the NFT craze become so mainstream over the past year, really. And it is undeniable that it feels like we're in a bull market for NFTs, but I say that with no negative connotations, because it really is whenever there's rampant speculation that leads to more innovation around an asset class. And one thing I really like is the new direction that NFT communities are starting to go towards, with more community-owned and launched NFT experiments, things like Loot or NounsDAO, and it feels like there's more direct ownership of the community over the asset itself, and it doesn't feel so much like a potential cash grab for the short-term bull market and kind of taking advantage of that. So I think we're seeing a lot of evolution on where the NFT asset class is going, and I really like this community-owned direction.
Yeah, same here. I mean, like I'm holding a bullish view on NFT market as a whole as well. I think like for the short term, NFT market currently, we'll have to admit that it's more contained within the crypto space. But at the crypto space as a whole, with the Fed continue to be dovish and the new institutional funding coming, and it's on the uptrend still. And for the medium, and if you look at all those collectible arts and even just these markets being huge in traditional markets, I think that is about, I read a report the other day, just like about 5% of the ultra high net worth person's wealth is stored in all those collectibles. So there's a huge way to go. And then, of course, I think in the even longer term, I think like feeling this sense of uniqueness, and then you have your own identity is some kind of the quest inside everyone. So yeah, the NFT market really serve to express that and be more real to the whole world and the human nature. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same thing. I think NFT kind of become like a rally point for a lot of the crypto community. And as a community builder, we're seeing a lot more projects that are kind of echoing back in, 2019 when Chainlink holder, we call them Link Marines, Synthetic holder, we call them like Spartans and all these names, right? So it's the meme economic and the community are now rallying to NFTs. But that's more on the PFPM, but I'm also super bullish on just NFT art in general, stuff that's on art block, gen art. We're seeing, a lot of, because of COVID, right? A lot of artists, they can't go on exhibition or anywhere, right? So they create art online, and that become a brand new market where crypto investor or non-crypto investor can, buy NFT art just on online and kind of own a piece of it, right? Another point of view, I think it's almost like a gateway for non-crypto savvy or non-trader savvy people to enter into crypto. As a community builder, we saw a lot of view just on NFT related video. Like we were making crypto voxel video back in 2019. And Decentraland, and there weren't, that many people watching it, but a lot of people that watch it are generally people that like online games, that like Minecraft, that like building. So that become kind of a gateway. I remember back in 2020 when I was making tutorial video about Axie Infinity, and at that point, a lot of people that play it weren't crypto savvy people, but mainly just like to, play and earn some cash, right? So NFT become a great way for people to learn about crypto, and it's exciting to see that project like SynFutures that are seeing the market trend and building the right product and feature for the other trader to use. Yeah, so long term I'm super bullish. I don't obviously we're kind of in a really fast growth. We saw ape coming from like 0.1 ETH per ape to now like 50 ETH, and some are trading at like hundreds of ETH, right? And we see people buying the internet relic like Ether Rock. And but again, I see this as kind of a, because of the bull run, right? A lot of the traders are starting to diversify. I mean, crypto itself is already an alternative investment, but now within crypto, there's a niche market of alternative investment into NFTs. And it also become like a cloud, right? We see people change their profile into a rock. We see people changing their profile into an ape. Again, that's a way to rally each other. It's like a symbol saying that you know if you know type of thing. So maybe you don't know who I am, but you see me owning an ape, then like maybe I'm a crypto savvy person. So I think it's a way to. It's one of those rare time in crypto that we find a way to rally us together, not just saying Bitcoin or change our profile to Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. So I'm super excited about it, and I think long run it's still a very bullish NFT market. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, let's talk a little bit more about kind of where you think the crypto market is going in terms of trends. We mentioned the apes, CryptoPunks, and kind of this trend of changing your profile picture. And we've also seen NBA Top Shot applications of NFTs where there's sports or trading involved. In terms of future applications of NFTs, whether that be gaming, perhaps music or videos, where are we currently doing with those mediums, and where do you see those taking off as much as like changing a profile picture, for example? Anyone can jump in.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely, I mean, just I think loot itself, or adventure gold and kind of the loot's derivative, it already shows a lot of multiple use cases for metadata, where you can have different character. It kind of resemble MMORPG or a multiplayer dungeon back in mud back in the days, right? So we're also seeing, like, just yesterday I saw a game where they take different stats. So like you have wisdom, strengths, you have agility, and then so you choose that NFT, and then it reads your NFT in your wallet, and then your character showed up in the game. And it was just a demo beta, but it was interesting where you kind of own that character forever. If you're playing game like World of Warcraft or like Diablo, you know that if for example, I'm in Taiwan, right, and I play one server, my character can never go to the East Coast or the US server. It stays at Taiwan. But I think we might see MMORPG where if you own that NFT, that is your character, and then you can log into different server because it proves your ownership from that. But that's only on the art and gaming NFT. Obviously, we're seeing other projects like Solve, SOLV, where they are turning SAF, like investment SAF, into an NFT where you can fractionalize your investing schedule into multiple token, and then so it creates like kind of traditionally I guess the market wasn't open to retail user, and now they can kind of, I guess, at one point buy token investing on OpenSea as NFT that resemble it. And then we're seeing projects like Aladdin DAO and a lot of these other investment DAO where tier one VC are not signing anything, right? They're getting an NFT to prove a claim for the future token, and they maybe at one point can fractionalize that and sell it to other people if they want more liquidity. So that part I'm also super excited about.
Yeah, I really like that last point you made. There's a lot of focus today, obviously, on digital art, digital collectibles, in-game items, but there are a lot of potential NFT assets that have kind of a step further in utility than what's out there today. As a former lawyer, one thing I often think about is how many contractual rights we each have as individuals. And these could be contractual rights or benefits that may have inherent value, but not value to you per se. And it seems efficient that you should be able to resell those rights without affecting or modifying the broader contract. So one example I think of is, for instance, I might be a tenant under some lease agreement with a landlord, and in my lease, I might have like a contractual option to extend the lease by 1 year on the same terms. And maybe I really have no intention of renewing the lease, and that option has no value to me per se. But having the ability to just remove that option and sell it almost as an NFT right to some other party without affecting my lease for the year seems like it would be an economic thing to do. And when you think of really the list of contracts we're all party to, may they be lease agreements or commercial agreements or credit card agreements, things like that, there's probably a lot of rights that we could all sell and kind of like unlock this economic value that we're not using today.
Yeah, I echo a lot of that. I think especially the gaming one, I think there's just so much more room for exploration there, and it feels like we're in very early stages. I think NFTs around identity are also super interesting. I think already, as people have been saying, a large part of the whole profile picture, JPEG craze has been around people wanting to express, add more color to their digital identity online, given that, especially these days, but increasingly, that is how you interact with people, and that's how people see you. I think for most folks, you're probably tens or hundreds of more people have seen their online personas than in person. And so finding a way to express that in a richer way is really important. But I think even going a layer deeper, I really like what ArcX is doing around DeFi passports and minting those as NFTs. And so I can sort of carry a on-chain history of things I've done around governance, around being an early user to a protocol, around having a history of being a good borrower or a good trader, and using that on-chain to unlock certain new features or new experiences or new rights for me, or what POAP has been doing for a few years now, but I think is getting more attention around basically giving out these non-transferable NFTs. So if I vote on maker governance, if I attend a hackathon, if I do something interesting that is related to myself, being able to sort of commemorate that forever on chain, I think is really powerful and sort of adds one more dimension to this online persona.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think like coming from a finance background, I'm seeing lots of progress in the DeFi and NFT coming together. For one thing, for the current NFT collections, I would say that for the trading of it, they are moving in two directions. One direction is fractionalization. So you have a super high value NFTs, you could fractionalize it and trade small pieces of it. And the second is the other way around, and you combine it, which is right now called indexing. So you could deposit your ERC 721, the NFTs, and in exchange for an index ERC 20 tokens, and it's fungible. And then I mean later on it becomes an index fund for you to trade the certain categories of NFTs. So and besides that, so there's lots of other activities going on. Say for the lending spaces, there's NFT lending, leasings, and also, I mean, you see even more innovations and the full set of finance application on it. Say arbitrage between primary market and secondary market projects, and you see like Jenny, which is the aggregators of NFTs, the 1 inch of NFTs. So the full set of finance being evolving, and what's exciting about it is that this is actually more of like a broader sense of finance, because say if you compare the traditional finance to the current crypto market, the ERC20 are more like FX. So you trade fungible dollar, fungible euro, but in the larger financial market, if you are doing a lending, you take a loan, you have different terms, you have different borrowers and different credit worthiness, creditness. So the NFT really could represent the difference and the uniqueness of the underlying financial instruments, while putting it just, I mean, like into indexing or fractionalization, you could still trade in a very good secondary market. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. In terms of, so we talked about how NFTs were kind of a very retail friendly way for people to get involved in crypto. There's a lot of celebrities, they're very familiar, it's very also visual. But ultimately the goal is to maybe get them participating in the broader crypto ecosystem, especially in DeFi. And so where do you see like the most amount of, hurdles? So NFTs can get them a little bit up the learning curve in terms of people who before, in order to buy an NFT, you have to kind of get, buy some ETH, get your MetaMask, and that whole, it's a learning curve. But then in order to participate in DeFi, there's a whole other set of, kind of skills and also learning that they have to do. And so in terms of bridging the two worlds together, what do you see as kind of, those stepping stones or even hurdles that, the DeFi and NFT community can be better at?
Yeah, I like the question. It's kind of like NFTs as a gateway drug into crypto. And I think a project like Nouns DAO, again, is pretty interesting in that regard, in that it sits somewhere between the NFT world and the DeFi world. The concept itself feels pretty simple and straightforward, where you can have a DAO governance token that also doubles as a piece of non-fungible digital art, or another way to think of it is like digital art that also represents governance rights over the proceeds raised from the sale of that digital art. So you can start with the same appeal in that fundamentally this is a scarce piece of art being sold. And then as new retail users start buying this asset class, they realize, wait, maybe this digital art isn't just a piece of digital art, but it's also a share certificate and gives me governance over some treasury. And then they participate in that governance. And in the future, you can have NFTs that look like DeFi coins and that they have cash flows from a DAO. So I do think, to also the point Rachel was speaking to earlier, we're seeing more DeFiization of the NFT world, or NFTization of the DeFi world.
Yeah, I think to get people, I think it's not just about access, but it's also just about excitement. And I think the way you tend to get people excited is to let them do something that they never could have done before. And I think a lot of people focus on, you can earn 4% on your USDC or whatever it is in sort of the DeFi land, which I think is great. But I think few people have actually experienced community ownership and community governance. And I think just general access to a lot of the really novel and sort of crypto native financial products that are coming out of DeFi these days. And so in my mind, that's kind of where I see a lot of the hurdle right now is just like, once you buy an NFT, what do you do with it? I think display and ownership is like another thing that is quite tricky. It's one thing to, go on to Nifty Gateway and say, okay, Nifty Gateway says I own this JPEG. It's another thing to see that it is truly yours. It follows you around to different platforms. If you move from Asia servers to North American servers, you still retain the same sort of ownership. And I think experiencing that and feeling that for the first time is something that I think few people have actually done. So I think more ways to sort of actually almost like look under the hood. I think 2 years ago, it was very popular to think of abstracting out the blockchain as sort of the end goal of what we're all doing. And I think increasingly we see projects that are successful are the ones that are actually sort of opening up the hood and letting people see like, no, this is how crypto is actually working. This is why this is important. It's not just, linear and a slightly higher interest rate or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think, with NFT, right? Like a good example was the announced WTF, right? Where it's kind of a slow start for governance. Unlike when we see, Loot when they give out 10,000 Adventure Gold, they kind of people just collected the token and then kind of dump their NFT or vice versa, right? But we're seeing more and more NFT DAO that are coming out that are having these slow governance start where, true believer that really like it, that kind of stay in there. And this create an interesting, category within crypto. As a community builder, I see kind of the different hype, right? From last year's DeFi summer to kind of the rebase we're seeing ESD, DSD, all that. And then like December, we see kind of the public chain hype. And then now we're seeing, layer 2. And there's, but NFT has always been a special sector where you have community user that just like NFT, they don't go anywhere. And I talked to a lot of them where they would be like, I don't trade token. I hold ETH just to pay gas. They don't care about ETH going 10,000 or 400. They just use ETH to pay gas. And then they want to get into as much, community as possible. And then that created, that's what I love about, for example, ape community, where a lot of the ape holder that, for example, in Taiwan, there was an ape event where like, I think 300 people attended. They each have, some have fractionalized ape, some is like 10 people together, they own one ape. And then it become like they have never, I don't think they even own a Binance account or an FTX. They just, get ETH and then find a way to buy an ape and this was back in April when ape was super cheap or some of them minted. And that created a new kind of ecosystem. And, it's like what you say, it's a gateway drug, right? Where they get into crypto. But these kind of a new category where people just like NFT, like gaming NFT, and it kind of stay in there and then starting to gain wealth from it because of the NFT price going up. And then from there, they start to learn about, the whole DeFi mechanic. And we're seeing lending market coming out like PalmFi, Kyoko, NFTX, where, you can collateralize your NFT and then you can start mining their platform token, just like the same DeFi Lego part we've seen. And then you can find buyer that's willing to, make like sweeper, where they're trying to sweep those floor and they're willing to pay for X amount money, and then the lender can borrow that money, maybe 50% or 40%, and if he or she doesn't pay back, you get liquidated, right? So we're seeing a lot of those new type of NFT lending market where users just want to stake and then borrow some money. So more and more places where they can use, and Loot and some of the other derivatives that came out become a great effect where, oh wow, so now I own an NFT and I can get some token too. We're seeing, I think it's not soon we might start seeing more and more NFT to launch their own token, like we saw CyberCon, they launched the banana, we saw Cool Cat launch Milk, these DAO token. I think sooner or later we'll see like Meatbeat or Ape launch their own token, or we will see a DAO that owns a lot of those NFT and front run project to launch token. So it's an exciting time, I think, overall. Yeah.
Yeah, and in terms of the bottlenecks that you just now mentioned, of course, the entry barrier you mentioned, I mean, like for a normal person to learn how to use MetaMask and use all those tool and decentralized wallet is a headache for them. And one another huge bottleneck, I think, right now is the network capacities and the public chain in itself. Because although you could think that if you're buying an ape or those high value items, it's okay for you to pay the gas fee, right? But if we would love it to be a mass adoptions, the infrastructures is very key. Because think about it, for you to develop NFTs, not only the high value ones, say lots of enterprise using NFT for their marketings, and especially what excites me most is the communities are starting using NFTs, right? Loot, for example, I think it's not only just a special type of NFT. It actually come up with a new token economic model. In the past, you only use ERC20, the tokens, to incentivize everyone to participate. But if you look at the real world, for a company, you have different departments, right? You have different person, you have different contributions, and then using the NFTs as the incentives to incentivize technology developer, different departments, different roles within an ecosystem is very powerful. But in order for this to work successfully and for everyone to participate and even involve with the NFT features, the whole infrastructure has to be improved for massive adoption. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we are quickly running out of time, but let's just go around and maybe everyone can talk about the one project that they're most excited about. I'll call on Mr. Block.
Oh, all right, cool. So one project I'm really excited about is Solve. So what they're trying to solve is the SAF market, right? They predict where a lot more projects are going to be anonymous and they're not going to set up an entity. So a lot of these projects are going to look for investors that are going to like this new standard where you believe in the code, you believe in the founder, and you invest, and you get an NFT back. And that NFT is your future claim of the token release. The metadata could be like what valuation you get in, and then what's the vesting schedule in there. And then this I believe it might become a new trend. We're seeing in the DeFi summer where people are getting more and more used to anonymous founder, and then a lot of the Anon project that become really popular are listed on tier 1 exchanges as well, right? Mm-hmm. So Soft, what they're doing is they try to standardize it where if you get into a private deal and you want to access some of your position of that liquidity, you don't have to go to an OTC, or you can just sell a portion of that, and then someone that believe in that project can buy it at a discount price. So I think that market might be really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So we are actually out of time, but thank you everyone so much for joining us, and I hope you will all stay tuned for our next panel. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Hello everyone. This is Matt. I'm partner and chief strategy officer at SynFutures. So before we start the second part of the session, I'd like to take probably 2 minutes to share something very exciting to everyone. So let me share my screen. Awesome. So this, we'd like to share a sneak peek of the world's first NFT futures product. We call it Unfutures. It's an abbreviation of NFT and futures. Now what you're seeing is a prototype, but the rough idea is what you're looking at. You may not have noticed that this looks like a dating app or a game. With a simple click, you can express your views on a specific NFT or set of NFTs. The best part is you can use ETH or USDC as the margin tokens. There's also a very easy way to opt in for leverage, if you want more efficiency in the trade. Now, the most magical part is this game or dating app of NFT will be built on the same SynFutures version 2 smart contract designed with institutional level financial engineering and synthetic AMM liquidity solutions, and not to mention our true permissionless listing where you can just list any asset in 30 seconds. By any asset, I not only mean BTC, ETH, but also long-tail assets such as Axie Infinity or even NFT and beyond. So we're going to share more details in the next coming weeks. So stay tuned. We're going to have more information for that. All right. Thanks, everyone. Back to you, Tracy. Thanks.
All right, well, hi everyone, welcome back. This is part 2 of our panel, and for this section, we're gonna be talking a little bit more about the technical developments in DeFi and NFTs, and also about institutional adoption. And so I'm going to briefly turn it over to our lovely panelists. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And if you can just do a 1 to 2 sentence quick introduction. And so I know, Matt, you already went, so let's go Alok, Lauren, and then Rohit.
All right. Hey, everyone. Thanks to everyone at SynFutures for having me. My name is Alok Vasudev, and I'm a co-founder and partner at StandardCrypto. We are a San Francisco-based crypto venture capital firm. We fund companies, protocols, currencies, NFTs, you name it. Venture means very, very long time horizon. And before StandardCrypto, I was an investor at Benchmark Capital. And even before that, I was once upon a time a legitimate engineer and scientist, though now all of my technical ability has atrophied.
I think I was next, right? I'm Lauren. I work at Pantera Capital, pretty much one of the oldest institutional focused funds in the crypto space. We were founded in 2003, and we invest into anything crypto, so that's tokens or equity. And then my background is in software development and finance.
Okay. Hi, this is Rohit. Professionally, I'm a software engineer. I have 15 years of experience in software designing, developing, architecting. Lately, I have turned into a crypto enthusiast, and actually, I've been like exploring this Ethereum, BSC, Polygon, and Polka ecosystem. So, I mean, I found SynFutures following Pantera actually, because like that was one of the biggest VCs in SynFutures. I followed Pantera. So actually, like the time actually I joined SynFutures, I mean, I haven't looked back. Actually, it's a seamless design that have been created with robust ecosystem, robust backend. I mean, it's not overwhelming. It does do what it is supposed to do. It's very seamless design. I have been a part of this community. Somehow, actually, I was able to win 2 competitions over here, like the bug bounty competition, and yeah, one of the trading competitions over there. So that is my journey with SynFutures. I'm loving this journey. Yeah, this product is awesome.
Wow. Well, thank you, everyone. Let's talk a little bit about Ethereum and the current issues with scaling. And so NFTs have actually taken off so much that it's caused it's caused high gas fees on Ethereum. And so do you see Ethereum remaining kind of the dominant NFT platform? And currently there are emerging competitors such as Solana. So your thoughts on NFTs and Ethereum remaining the dominant platform? We can start with Alok.
Sure. So I'm a pretty big Ethereum believer. And when I say Ethereum, I think of Ethereum as not just layer 1. I think of Ethereum as all inclusive of side chains and L2s that are closely coupled to it, highly compatible. So when I say Ethereum, I tend to mean Ethereum broadly. And I think it's the richest, most dynamic ecosystem, and I'm a big believer in it. I think that when it comes to NFTs, where an NFT project ultimately derives its value to some degree is the social contract associated with the NFT and its scarcity and its rarity. And I think that we look to teams, we look to projects, in some cases like things like nouns, we look to communities forming that social consensus that guarantees the properties of the NFTs that we think value derives from. But beyond that, the settlement layer, or kind of the base layer where the NFTs are recorded, stored, originated, transferred, there's also a really important social contract as a part of that too. So ETH has the most economic security. It has the largest capital base. It, in a sense, is the most Lindy state that can store NFTs out there. And I think that's really important for value downstream.
I mean, I agree actually, like Ethereum is the base chain actually, like even if we come to L2s, so they are actually using Ethereum as the base chain. So, I mean, it has been like a bit difficult for Ethereum in late times because of NFT mintings. The price of gas has been like skyrocketing, but I mean, Ethereum 2.0 is to come actually, and they already have the plans to re-architect everything and get it to a place so wherever the gas will be again come to normal.
Yeah,
Lauren
I
or
would
Matt,
agree
do you
with
have
that.
any? Go ahead.
Sorry. I definitely agree with everything that's been said. I think definitely wouldn't discount the community that already exists on Ethereum. And I think one other thing to notice is that all of the very innovative NFT projects are being built on Ethereum.
Yeah, I would second to that. The same point also mentioned, as we are going through this NFT democratization process, I think people, sometimes really care about the transaction costs, and that's why So let's say in one of in SynFutures case, when we issue like the NFT program for our community, we actually talk to the community and ask for their advice. And the feedback we got initially was try to reduce the gas cost, and so we choose like Polygon. But like Alok mentioned, it's also the big Ethereum family.
Mm-hmm.
And SynFutures has also incorporated Arbitrium actually, and that is somehow actually very helpful for, that is on top of Ethereum, and it's really helpful to reduce the gas.
Got it. I guess for a retail purchaser of an NFT, some of them might not be super knowledgeable about what a layer 2 scaling solution is, but they do see the transaction fees and see that they have to pay $50 in a transaction fee to buy an NFT. I guess we talked a little bit about the layer 2 scaling solutions. I guess, do you think that they're, how optimistic are you that they are going to drive down gas prices?
Definitely, like they are going to. If you see, Polygon actually is a side chain. If we see the gas prices are too low over there, and Arbitrium, that has, as I said, actually that is, Uniswap has accepted it now, so it is actually, reduced the gas quite a lot actually. So L2s are a solution to, at least for now, till the time we go to Ethereum 2.0. L2s are a solution. But lately I have been reading, even Vitalik Buterin has been talking about like L2s will remain there even if when Ethereum 2.0 come there.
Mm-hmm. Does anybody else have anything to add?
Yeah, to echo what Rohit is saying, look, I think that the layer 2s and side chains, they have their own supply and demand problem for block space. So that's not to say that there's infinite scalability on these things. But I think once we are in a conceptual place where we're used to a layer 1 flanked by a bunch of side chains and L2s and kind of complementary blockchains, and we have the right infrastructure in place, for example, things like direct on-ramps from fiat into layer 2s or side chains. Once we have the right glue layers in place that allow fast and seamless transfer and settlement of assets between chains, I think there's quite a bit of scalability on this dimension in order to keep things economical, in order to keep driving adoption.
Let's move on to, I guess, some other, hurdles that Ethereum might have to overcome. So what are some other technical challenges that you see for broader NFT adoption, whether that be, with UX or even regulatory issues? Lauren, I guess.
Yeah, obviously, like the main hurdle here is making it cheaper and easier to access NFTs, especially people who don't exactly have access or aren't technical and can't build the bots to like mint first edition NFTs. But even when you're buying them on the secondary markets, it's still very expensive and pretty slow, maybe if you're in the bidding war. But the other thing, there's a lot of things that exist in the real world when you're doing an auction that don't exist on OpenSea, for example. Like you can't batch transactions even. So every time you want to buy like maybe 5, let's call it like CryptoPunks, like maybe you'd have to pay gas pretty much every time. You can't batch them. So like even kind of like the basic tooling that you could do in Web 2, there's a lot of it that needs to be built to make things more functional on Web 3.
I would add one point, which is, today we're this is not only related to NFT, but DeFi also, that we're seeing most flow coming from like PC side, right? And then fast forward 6 months or 1 year, which is like forever in the crypto world. I would expect, more than 50 or even 80% of the traffic coming from like mobile like mobile users, and then how we adapt to fit, in that process. And it's not a matter of certainty, but it's a matter of like exactly when and how. But I think the industry will work this out.
Got it. Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about kind of the existing barriers for institutional entry. And so we've actually been seeing kind of, crypto hedge funds go out and buy NFTs or buy fractions of them. And we're also seeing the emergence of these new like NFT specific funds, and some of which are managed by, I guess, community influencers that don't necessarily have a investing background. I guess, what are your views on these new NFT type investments? Are they, I guess, within the whole crypto investing universe, or are they more speculative than even crypto, traditional crypto, if we can even call that a category?
I can take a first stab at it. I think it's terrific. We hold NFTs in our venture fund. And I think it's very much in scope for what we do as crypto investors. I think there's also certainly a degree of specialization that's going to occur in it. I think things like portfolio construction of NFTs is fascinating, right? Even if you believe in a project, how do you pick the ones to own? Is it all floors? Is it all rares? Is it a mix? How do you do that? I think it's a really fascinating question. And I think that if funds are being focused on NFTs, they're out to solve those types of problems. I think it's great. I think it's another one of the consequences of crypto really growing quite wide in its scope, that you're going to get specialty approaches in the same way that DeFi spun off a bunch of farming and mining and kind of very specific on-chain type of funds. I think NFTs are a perfect example of another one. I'm all for it, and I would love to see a bunch of NFT funds. I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah, you're coming from also investment background myself, managing money for like corporates and funds before. I think it's very exciting asset class to allocate the money to. But in terms of how, that is the question. And in terms of how to build a valuation model for these NFTs, it's a challenge. Just like Alok said, it's a real specialization process, because previously it take me 1 or 2 days to build a valuation model, and probably by that time I already missed the train. Well, I missed the SpaceX Crew Dragon.
Yeah, it's it's so true. It's really fun. And valuation models, again, yeah, those things are going to be great. But there's a really rich history of investment firms focused on art in the traditional sense, and there's no reason why it won't work for the digital one too.
Mm-hmm. So when you're doing diligence on which NFTs to buy, what are some of the metrics that you look at? You go to Twitter. Go ahead.
So I should caveat this by saying that it's not a focus of what we do. It's something that's still at, I would call it, experimental scale relative to our overall fund. It's something that's in the low single digits of kind of our overall asset base. But at least some of our criteria that we think about are, again, for things that are like art, the lindiness of the project is really important. Right, to some degree, things that are the oldest that are out there, that have the longest running track record, that tends to be a reflexive source of value for them. So to some degree, projects that are really old and have stood the test of time and have been able to succeed and maintain their relevance across generations of holders and collectors, that's an important one. The other thing that we pay attention to is, I call them N of one projects, right? And these are NFTs where they're really a conceptual breakthrough. In fact, one I mentioned earlier is a project that's one example of that, called Nouns, where Nouns are the first community-owned NFT issuer, where if you own an NFT, you also have a voting interest in the DAO as it relates to treasury decisions, as it relates to future issuances. And so I think conceptual breakthroughs are also a really interesting way to think about worthy NFT projects.
Does anybody else have anything to add about NFT diligence?
I mean, is it rare?
Okay. So let's move on to kind of when you're talking with you know, like institutional investors. I guess the crypto space is always looking to attract more, you know, institutional capital, and we're not just talking, you know, like hedge funds and asset managers. Where we're talking about also, you know, very conservative institutional investors, like maybe the CalPERS of the world, pension funds that might not even have any crypto exposure, let alone NFT exposure. So when you're talking to these types of investors and you're trying to kind of explain to them what your fund is doing and all the different opportunities out there in crypto, I guess how do you pitch it to them?
Well, I've been doing a lot of talking, so I'm happy to defer to somebody else to take it.
Yeah, honestly, I guess for context, Pantera is currently raising a fund. So I've been doing a lot of, I mean, my whole team's been having a lot of conversations with larger institutions, and it's definitely a difficult concept for a lot of people who aren't exposed to the crypto space to kind of grasp. But once you kind of explain that it's very similar to the collectible space, which has also been growing, not just in crypto, but outside of crypto as well, it kind of clicks a little bit more. And the other thing is, like, there's a lot of, like Alok said, for your previous question, like there's definitely dedicated institutional art-focused funds, and that's just art. I believe there's around 200 of them just in the US alone. So I think we're starting to see more acceptance, or I believe we will see more acceptance of NFTs as an investment class, as like more and more people kind of come into the space and play around with them. It's just kind of like any other collectible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think institutions, in terms of holding NFTs directly, outside of it being a marketing splash like what Visa did, I think holding it as part of an asset management strategy or part of an investment strategy, we're a long ways away from that. And so they would be getting exposure through funds like Pantera and funds like us. And what we found is that for institutional LPs, I think at least the ones that we work with think about it as underwriting a fund is partially understanding and kind of appreciating and underwriting their strategy, but almost more so it's about underwriting the manager and manager selection. And so to some degree, our LPs turn to us and say, hey, we believe in what you do. If you think it's a good idea, we're all for it.
Got it. And do they mostly categorize crypto under, say, like venture or kind of because investing in art, there are dedicated art investment funds, but they're kind of under the category of alts. Mm-hmm. And I know investors are always looking for, you know, diversified returns, but the bulk of investments are in traditional asset classes like equities and fixed income. And so do you kind of, you know, will crypto always kind of be in that venture alt space, or is there kind of hope for, at least through DeFi, to kind of replace some of the traditional asset classes?
I think in the long run, every sufficiently large pool of capital is going to have a crypto desk in the same way they have a venture desk or a privates desk or a real assets desk. And so that's the inevitable trend. But for now, I think it relates to what aspect of crypto most resonates with the team at that institution. I think there's some that index on the liquid markets component of crypto, and it slots into a hedge fund bucket, or it slots into, even in some cases, a real asset or commodities bucket. But I think, at least from our perspective and what we've seen, the vast majority of it falls into venture, just because the salient variable there is about early stage technology and the risk and asymmetry of these investments that we make. Those align with venture more than anything else within an institution.
Yeah, I would also offer a view from the most conservative corporate side. You know, think about like Visa as a corporate. They already got a CryptoPunk on their balance sheet. well, they haven't released the quarterly report, so you haven't seen the intangible asset, on their balance sheet, right? No matter it's US GAAP or IFRS, it's the same thing as ERC20 token. ERC 721 is the same thing. Now, I think this industry is learning, how to accept this, how to account for this, and gradually, it's like 1 or 2 years ago, right? People are asking whether someone will buy like Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And now people are asking whether to put NFT in a new asset classes on their balance sheet. And the answer is definitely yes, and there'll be more.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we only have a couple minutes left, so this is the last question. It appears that a lot of crypto, whether it's a protocol or a crypto startup, they have kind of two conflicting groups that they want to market to. And the retail side is very different from the institutional side, and they look for different things. And so, for example, whether it's Uniswap or OpenSea or NFTs, like marketing to those two different buckets can be kind of challenging. And so I guess how can crypto startups or crypto companies kind of bridge the gap, because they want greater adoption by everyone, whether it's somebody sitting at home farming for yield or a hedge fund or institutional investor doing the same exact thing?
I think the hardest thing for like a regulated institution to do, basically when you interact on chain or make an investment on chain, you have to know who you're transacting with. So, I mean, I think we've already started to see the beginnings of it with Aave Arc, for example, creating, Aave basically created an institutional product that they're going to market to only institutions, but you have to be KYC AML'd, or KYC'd. So I think that's probably like the initial direction that I believe probably a lot of institutions or DeFi products and NFT products are going to have to go in order to track the institutions.
Yeah, I think that crypto categorically is a retail first industry, and it's retail adoption that actually provides the legitimacy and stability that makes a project even somewhat feasible for institutional adoption. And that's actually unlike really any other technology that we've seen in the past, which tends to be adopted first by governments or businesses, and then kind of diffuses more to individuals. And that's one of the most unique elements of crypto. So in a sense, if you're an early stage project, it's all about finding product market fit with retail and individuals, building that base of community, building that base of capital. And if you have the type of product market fit that really takes you to the next level, then it's about layering in things like Aave is doing to make it more appealing to institutions. But to some degree, retail is what provides that legitimacy that would even make an institution interested.
Matt or Rohit, do you have anything to add? If not, we'll end the panel.
I reckon with what Alok has said, like it's pretty true actually. So overall, like NFT marketplace, I mean, NFT market is really huge now, and it's difficult overall. I mean, if I have to conclude, it's difficult to actually like to get a real article actually getting a real exact value of an NFT as of now. But yes, it is a real asset for future. It is like when the internet started, we didn't know the value of it. NFT things have started. We don't know the exact value of it as of now, but it will take some time, and it will be a future actually. Yep.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us this evening. I feel like we had a lot of great input from everyone, and also the viewers. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a good night, everybody.
Thanks, Tracy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy. Thanks, everyone.